Hey there, welcome to the next episode of the Personal Branding for Professionals video podcast. As a part of the series, we spotlight powerful personal brands across the globe to inspire today's professionals. I'm your host, Ketaki Vaidya, and today's video is dedicated to the world of data. Throughout the series, we have talked about different aspects of personal branding. But as a data professional, the strategies that you would use to brand yourself can differ from the usual ones. And who better to explain that to us than the data queen herself? Joining us today is Christina Stathopoulos, living abroad in Madrid, Spain since 2012. She now works as an analytical consultant at Google, collaborating with the industry's leading advertisers to implement data-driven decision-making. Alongside her corporate work, she is also an adjunct professor and international speaker for IE Business School. Her love for teaching extends to guest lecturing at other universities and participating as an active speaker and thought leader focused on data analytics, emerging technologies, and women in tech. What intrigued me the most about Christina, apart from her data expertise, is the Bookaweekchallenge. Imagine if we could read one book every week. We have so many excuses to read one book every year, let alone reading one every week. So I felt that was a great initiative that she started. That's how we got connected. And I am so excited for you to meet Christina. Try to gain as much as you can from this video because this one is going to be really interesting. Let's get started. Hey Christina, welcome. I am so excited for this conversation that we're going to have. I've been following your LinkedIn profile since a long time now, and I'm excited to talk about a lot of things today.
Thank you so much for inviting me on. I'm happy to be here.
So Christina, first of all, tell me about your journey. I've already introduced you, but I would like to know more about how you got into the data world and also about your Bookaweekchallenge.
Yeah, so I have to say that I followed a very unconventional path to get to where I am today. We can say that I didn't follow the book to build my analytics career, but I did grow up with a love for mathematics and statistics. So it was a very natural progression for me to end up in analytics finally. But I'm originally from the US, but I moved abroad to Madrid, Spain in 2012. Really, within a month of graduating from my bachelor's, I moved abroad. I left home and moved abroad. And I moved with the intention of staying just 1 year, and now it's been over 8 years. So I never left Spain. But when I first arrived in Spain, I was really young, obviously, with little experience. I was in a foreign country where I didn't speak the local language. So I had to find a solution to support myself ASAP. And I couldn't get a job directly in my field of statistics, a lot because I didn't speak the local language and, of course, the lack of experience. So I ended up finding a niche in the market where I could excel for the time being to support myself. So Spain has a fairly low level of English, and this is a huge problem for businesses where international presence has become more and more important. So I freelanced as a business English consultant for a few years, working with top business executives on their business English and their presentation skills. And although this was far from my studies and my professional goals, it ended up helping me grow as a communicator and as a presenter. After that, I eventually went on to do my master's in business analytics and big data at IE Business School in Madrid. And then I pivoted back into the field that I'm passionate about. So at that point, I was becoming fluent in Spanish. And after completing my master's, I worked at both SAS Institute and Nielsen as a systems engineer and then a data engineer. And I did all that before landing my current role at Google. So I'm currently working at Google as an analytical consultant, but I'm also very active on the side. So I've stayed consistently active within the analytics community over the years, and it's helped me eventually land a position as an adjunct faculty member at IE Business School. I also guest lecture at other universities and then public speaking opportunities globally. So my classes and my speeches, they focus on data analytics, emerging technologies, and women in tech. So I keep myself quite busy.
Yeah, that must be really cool to talk to the students and to show them the power of data, to talk about your experience, share everything with them.
Yeah, I'm really passionate about it. And most of the programs that I teach in are MBAs. So what I try to do is, these are people who, a lot of them don't come from a technical background. So what I try to do is pass on my passion to them. And I end up doing it. I teach with a very, I would say, innovative, interactive style. and
Oh,
it ends up really influencing others and getting them interested in the field, which is ultimately what I'm trying to do.
that's awesome. So tell me one thing. You're from North Carolina. How did you choose Spain?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Charlotte, North Carolina,
Mm-hmm.
and I knew that I wanted to live abroad. I wanted to just get the experience of living in a new country, learn another language, and travel the world. And I was looking first at Asia. So I thought I was going to go to somewhere like, Hong Kong, Tokyo,
Mm-hmm.
but I ended up settling on Spain. One of the big things for me was the language. I knew that if I learned Spanish, I would be able, once I came back to the US, it would be a huge advantage. It's obviously the second most spoken language in the US.
Right.
So it was a lot the language, but I thought I was only going to stay 1 year, and now it's been continuous.
Yeah, so tell us, what does a typical day in your life look like? Because I'm really interested to understand what you do as an analytics consultant, and apart from that, what do you do to keep yourself focused in your field?
Yeah, so my core work, it's really helping advertising clients with data-driven decision making. So helping them with a mix of first-party and third-party data, to understand the market, to optimize their advertising campaigns, maybe to launch new products,
Right.
to help with their campaigns in general. And it's ultimately my job. It's a mix of doing pitches, maybe with data to understand the market and where they need to focus their efforts, or it could be creating automated dashboards and reports, but really advising them on where they need to drive their business depending on what the market is saying. So that's what I'm doing on a day to day. But then I also do a lot, nights and weekends, which is mainly when I'm teaching or public speaking, or being very active in the community. But I think a lot of people tell me it seems like I'm always working and I'm too busy. I don't have a balance. But it does help that I like what I do. So I'm
Yeah.
passionate about what I do, and it doesn't bother me that I have to teach in the evening or I have to connect on a Saturday to
Hmm.
give this speech because I enjoy it. So it still feels like I have that balance.
Yeah, and whatever you do over the weekends, I think it's because you're really passionate about it, and it is voluntary. So because you really want to do it and you want to grow yourself. So a lot of people think that it's only the professional development that they have to look at, but when you grow personally, you are able to give your best professionally as well. So all of these are interrelated, I would say.
Absolutely. And I don't see anything wrong with working on the weekend or doing these things, but make sure it's something that you enjoy, that you're doing for you. And for me, that's why I don't mind connecting nights and weekends to do things that I actually enjoy and that help me grow as a person.
So yeah, tell me one thing, that when you started your bachelor's, I think initially you were in the civil engineering path, and then you realized that you were not interested in that. So how did you find the why of your brand? How did you find what was your niche?
Yeah, I started in civil engineering because I thought engineering was the natural path from, statistics and math, liking that. And back then, when I was studying my bachelor's, data science wasn't a hot topic, and there were not established data science programs, or else I might have
Yeah,
done it. So
yeah,
I started in civil engineering, but I quickly realized in the first year that it wasn't for me. I didn't enjoy it. And I was looking for something that matched my wants, something that would really call my attention. And I ended up switching to a very odd degree. I did an interdisciplinary degree called Science, Technology, and Society. I
mhm,
had a focus in statistics, but it really played off of everything that I enjoy. So the degree was studying the societal impacts and the future that is coming out of GRIN technologies, which is genetics, robotics, informatics, and nanotechnology. And then for
okay.
me, you have to choose a certain area to focus in, and I focused in statistics. And that was when I really got to see, advanced statistical modeling and coding for the first time, and I realized that it was something that I really liked.
That's really nice. And I remember seeing a post from you on LinkedIn a few days back where you were mentioning that your father was trying to do some data analysis on Microsoft Word. And you said that he was really successful in his own world, but he was not good at data clearly. So it's good that you were interested in numbers right from your childhood, and you finally found a career where you're playing with numbers each day, where you're telling stories with data. So that's a really cool thing.
Yeah, yeah, and I went very far off from what my parents do, which are more on the law side, And I do not like that at all. I found my own path and established it. And I think everyone needs to find what is their ultimate calling. Data and analysis is not going to be for everyone. But for those that do enjoy it, you can really build a very strong, long lasting career in the field.
Definitely. Even with me, my father was in defense, and he was thinking that I would also eventually get into defense. But that was a field that I was really never interested in, and that's how I got into the data world as well. I think one particular thing that I really wanted to know is your entire journey. You have been into multiple avenues, but you must have faced a lot of challenges along the way. So, what were those challenges?
Yeah, one of the first professional challenges for me was obviously the language barrier coming to Spain. Without speaking the local language, I was really limited where I could work, and I had to dedicate myself to studying the language in my first years. And I did it mainly via self study and immersion,
Right.
which is tough. And especially as an adult, picking up a new language as an adult is a challenge, but I can say that it's possible. Absolutely. So the language thing was one of the first big challenges that I faced. And then during the development of my career, another big challenge was getting over the fear of public speaking. This is a fear that everyone has naturally.
Right.
And the best way to get over it was, in my case, to put myself on the spot. I
Hmm.
made myself take every public speaking chance that I was offered. And then I got better at controlling my nerves. You will never get rid of those nerves, but it's about transforming them and using them and being able to manage them. For me now, it's a form of like adrenaline that I surface them as adrenaline, and it helps me with my public speaking. But it does take practice. And the first few times that you are speaking in front of a crowd, you're going to be nervous, but it will get better the more you do it.
Definitely. And if someone is on the introverted side, how would you suggest that they start with public speaking? If because for building a personal brand, you really have to get out there, speak, network, and grab every personal branding opportunity that you can get. So, how would you suggest that someone on the introverted side can do this?
I'm a complete introvert. Whether you believe it or not, I am a complete introvert. I am a homebody. Weekends, I love to stay home. I don't want to go out. I love to be with my books, and that's it. So everything that I tell you is coming directly from an introvert. And the advice is the same. It's just I understand as an introvert, you don't like being in front of crowds. This is going to push you out of your comfort zone. But you've got to do that. And you've got to learn as well, not just in public speaking, but in general, you've got to learn to step out of your comfort zone and take
Hmm.
calculated risks, because that's where opportunity is. If you stay within your comfort zone, you're just going to be comfortable all your life, but you're probably not going to excel very far. You're not going to climb up the corporate ladder. So you need to constantly be pushing your limitations. And one of those things is through public speaking, but put yourself on the spot. And one thing that can help is just practice.
Hmm.
I always say that for public speaking, it does require a lot of practice. And that means doing it by yourself in front of a mirror. If you want, do it with your partner or one of your best friends, your family, and practice in front of them. But make sure you also practice before the live event. And it will help you be a little less nervous the day of.
Definitely, and I think a lot of us we are very scared of public speaking, and that's mainly because of the fact that we cannot verbalize our thoughts right away. So if you do sufficient practice, I think it helps in that. Not only does it help in controlling your nerves, but it also helps you to bring up the message that you really want to convey. Because sometimes it's about how effectively you're delivering your content. You don't want to get confused, and you don't want to give a lot of things at once. So you want to structure them very clearly so that the audience can grab and you can make it memorable for them at the same time.
Yeah, and what I do for speeches is I always write out my script. I'm not going to read that script, but the first time I'm working on it, I will write it out and
Yeah,
I'll read over it and see if I'm getting my thoughts clear, if it's making sense, if it's flowing. You can
yeah.
read over it a few times and then you try without the script. And in that case, you're not going to do it word for word, but you should have the ideas well organized and flowing from that script.
Right. So now you are a renowned international speaker, but someday you must have started from scratch where it must have been the first event that you said that I want to go out there, I want to start my public speaking journey. How did you find public speaking opportunities for yourself? If someone is interested to be a speaker, how can they find it for themselves too?
Yeah, for me it was years in the making. It didn't just come overnight, and
Right.
it started with small student-led events. This was at IE Business School when I was studying my master's. I
Mm-hmm.
started there and it was more backstage, but hosting the events, organizing the events, but getting just a couple minutes to speak in front of the crowd and introducing the speaker at the time.
Right.
And also during my master's, I tried to take every chance I got to present the projects. Sometimes if you're considering doing bachelor's, master's, whatever it may be, you're
Mm.
probably going to have team projects.
Right.
And many times they'll say, "Okay, just have one or two people present." Well, be the one to put your hand up and volunteer to be
Hmm.
one of the presenters because it's great practice. So for me, it started really in my master's, and then after that, I started getting invited back to speak at student events, but now as a speaker. And that's where it started. And from
Hmm.
there it grew little by little. And one of the keys I would say is to never say no to an opportunity. Take all of these opportunities that you can,
Right.
especially once you get to the point that you're getting invited to events, to podcasts, to panel discussions. Do not say no, because by saying no, you do not know what doors you may be closing for the future.
Right.
Because I've noticed that one public speaking gig, it ends up leading to the next. Many times I'll go speak and somebody will reach out to me after that and invite me to the next one. So you don't know what you're missing out on if you say no to one of these opportunities.
That's a great point that you've brought out there, and a lot of speakers that I've seen today, and especially this has grown in 2020 because now it's all the events are virtual, so the accessibility of the speakers also increases. But a lot of people, before you reach out to them, they look at your metrics, they look at whether your reach is really high, and only if it's high, they say yes to you. So it is a huge challenge for someone like me who's just beginning their speaking series, and to get guests for those. So thank you for saying yes, and thank you for this great tip. I think everyone should. Every opportunity can give you a lot of learning, and you should never say no. Not just for public, but
Absolutely.
for every other opportunity too.
Absolutely. And what you're doing, this initiative, is a great way to start with public speaking.
Right.
It's also, thankfully, one of the, I guess, maybe good sides of the pandemic is that because we are online, you're
Yeah.
getting the chance now to speak publicly, but not really. You're doing it virtually. So you don't have to see all of those eyes staring at you.
Yeah.
And doing things like these podcasts and interviews, it's wonderful practice to prepare then to later on go speak on a stage.
Exactly. And I started this series with the same concept in my mind that I wanted to be a speaker. I wanted to improve my public speaking, but I wasn't getting enough speaking opportunities because, again, over there, they look at your metrics. They say that, okay, you're just getting started. We do not have this opportunity for you. But this is a great way to maybe showcase that I'm interested in this aspect. This can be one of my strengths. And through that, I can connect myself to more speaking opportunities.
Yeah, it's absolutely the correct way to go about it.
So tell me one thing that when someone begins the data world, how should they build a personal brand, not just with respect to their work, but also what can they do apart from their work to stand out?
Yeah, this is important that you do not get so connected to your company.
Right.
That you're not known only because I am working as A at company B. Build
Right.
a personal brand and know what you represent. So in order to do that, you need to build a personal brand, outside of work.
Right.
And there's different ways to do that. One way is to be active in your community by attending local events. Nowadays, they're online, so it's more limited, but you can still do it. You can still network online.
Hmm.
And once we go back to in-person events, be on top of it and go to these in-person events and network. And one big thing you can do is to go alone to events. So force yourself to mingle with others at events. Do
Right.
not go with a group of friends and hang out with them all day at the event, because that's not going to help you. And like I said earlier, I'm an introvert. So I know how difficult it is to attend an event alone.
Right.
But I've done it, and it's really helped me to connect with others in the field. It makes me talk to people there. So that's one thing, taking advantage of events. Another one is to leverage your LinkedIn. Do not underestimate the power of LinkedIn. And when it comes to building your personal brand, LinkedIn is the best place to do it in a professional environment, and especially in the data world.
Right.
So in order to do this, the two things that I always say are consistency and quality. So post and reply consistently. Maybe give yourself a challenge of posting once every day, during 1 month or 2 months to get yourself, dedicated to something. But make sure that you're always posting quality content. So something that enriches the network and it inspires or educates others. And if you're focused on the data world, you'll probably do a lot of posts related to, data news, data advancements, and maybe even your own work if it's something you can share, or personal projects. But you'll have a focus really on data and tech. And then, like we've talked about up until now, is also find every opportunity you can to get in front of a crowd and to speak in front of others, because it's going to really help you build your name as a thought leader in the field, so that people relate your name to data, to technology, and it'll help you grow over time. So I would say those three things: the events, LinkedIn, and then public speaking.
Definitely. So query that I have for you over here is that, let's say that I am working in the data world right now. I'm working in the data field, and in my personal time, I'm passionate about some other aspect. So when I find public speaking opportunities for myself, or if that can be the case for anyone, that if they're trying to find a public speaking opportunity which does not overlap with the field of their work, should they still take it, or should they only focus on only the field that they're working in?
It depends, but I don't think there's not really any downside if you want to speak on another subject, maybe something else that you're knowledgeable on and you're passionate about it. There's absolutely no problem with that, and it's giving you more exposure and giving you
Yeah.
more practice. If you do want to focus on the data world, then try to get as many gigs as you can related to data analytics. But there's no downside to doing public speaking related to something else. I mean, if that's what you want to do, I don't see why not.
Yeah, because the why of your brand may not necessarily overlap with what you're working in. It can be something totally different. As long as you're ready to bring that intention of giving back to the community, you can still proceed further. There's no downside to that.
Yeah, and building your brand, like I said before, you don't want to connect it to your company, and it
Yeah,
doesn't need to be just one specific definition that you work in the data world. You can have very many different aspects to your brand, to your personal
yeah.
brand. So for me, as you know, I have the Book a Week challenge, and this really isn't connected to my work. I host the challenge on LinkedIn. I've been doing it for years. I read a book a week, and I started it because I realized that we're spending too much time on our screens,
Hmm.
and I wanted to encourage others to get off the screen and pick up better habits. And for me, that's getting lost in books. So I share what I'm reading every week, and I encourage others to do the same. And it's really to push others to read more and just to do continuous learning and continuous growth. And this is something that a lot of people associate me with, this challenge, and it
Hmm.
has nothing to do with data. I do read data books, so sometimes it's a data reading week,
Yeah.
but not always. And for me, it's helped that I have this other aspect to my brand. It's something extra, and it's a bonus, and it's something
Hmm.
that helps me stand out from everyone else in the field.
And the same is true for your public speaking engagements as well, because I've seen that you not only speak on the data field, but you also speak about you're passionate about helping women in STEM. You're passionate about how you should elevate your credibility at workplace, and all of those strategies is also something that you cover. So I think it can be a mix of whatever you want to do. In the end, it's your decision, but you definitely need to have the intention of going outside of your professional accomplishments, because that's not the only thing that defines your worth. Your worth is definitely more than that, and there's more that you can offer to the community than just the field that you're working in.
Yeah, and it makes you stand out, because if you're just a speaker talking on data analytics, that's you, and I don't know how many other thousands of people doing it. But if
Right.
you're a speaker who speaks on data analytics, but also diversity in tech, and
Yeah.
also, reading books, then with that combination, you are suddenly in a very small pool of candidates, and it makes you stand out. So it does help actually to have that diversity.
Definitely. And when it comes to personal branding, I think one other important aspect is to be able to project your accomplishments, because you always, especially when you are just getting started, you're starting from scratch, no one knows you. So in order to build trust among your community, you have to show them that I know what I'm talking about, and this is what I've done till now. These are my achievements. But a lot of us, we shy away from our accomplishments. We think that if we share those, we are too hesitant, because we don't know how people are going to judge us, whether it's going to be viewed negatively or whether it will give them a condescending tone to it. So considering all of this, I've seen very few people talk about their accomplishments with pride, and they are not very transparent about it. They think that people will go and figure it out, or their achievements will speak for themselves. But I can say that that does not happen in today's world, because no one has the time to do that. So how would you suggest that someone projects their accomplishments in a very subtle way?
Yeah, first of all, don't overthink it. And second, it's not bragging if it's based on facts. So this is a quote that comes from a workshop that I facilitate. It's called I Am Remarkable. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but it aims to encourage underrepresented groups to sell their accomplishments in the workplace and beyond. So it's really what we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
And so for you as well as our listeners, if you want to participate in one of these workshops, you can actually do that online. You can look at more information online. It's offered globally. It's iamremarkable.withgoogle.com. It came
Okay.
out of Google as an initiative, but now it's external too. So to project your accomplishments effectively, get into the habit of putting your work on show. So be public about it and don't be afraid to voice what you have achieved. Like I said before, it's not bragging if it's based on facts. If you did it, then what's the issue? And visibility is what will help you it'll help you in the corporate world because it helps you climb the corporate ladder and it helps open new opportunities. So keep track of your work and every accomplishment. Try to quantify the impact that your accomplishments are having, so something with numbers, and make sure to justify as much as possible, justify your accomplishments with facts and figures whenever it's possible. And one of the best platforms for doing that is LinkedIn. So the perfect place to showcase your work and to build your personal brand is LinkedIn. And you can practice there being vocal about what you have achieved.
Yeah, I think people have to look at it from a different perspective, because it's also about inspiring many others. Once you've accomplished something, you can inspire them with your journey. You can show them that you can talk about your struggles. You can thank the people who were involved, and by doing all of that, you're not just focusing on yourself, but you're focusing on the entire chain of events that led to that particular accomplishment. And with that, you're also inspiring people to maybe follow that track to get to that accomplishment, or if they're interested, they can also start a conversation with you around it. So that's a great way to network as well.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, and one other aspect which is really really important when it comes to connecting yourself to better opportunities is networking. So what are the tips and techniques that you used when you started networking on LinkedIn?
Networking on LinkedIn. It's and you'll hear different suggestions from different people.
Yeah.
One of a really easy tip for me is if you're going to send someone, let's say you want to connect with someone on LinkedIn in your field, do not just send them a connection invite, like a blank one.
Yeah.
Every time I send an invite, it has a message. That message says why I want to connect with them or why I think their profile, their activity would benefit me, and likewise how I can benefit them. But
Hmm.
include every single invite with a little message. You'll be surprised that most people do not do that. I think maybe less than 5% of the invites that come to me have messages.
Definitely.
Um, so that's one easy thing that you can do.
Hmm.
Another thing is just being active online. So when you see people in your network posting, like it, but also make comments. Make something that contributes. Tell
Hmm.
your opinion on the article that they just posted, or answer the questions that they're posting there.
Right.
But be active, not just in the sense of posting yourself. That's important. Make sure that you're being active and maybe posting once every day,
Hmm.
but respond to what others are posting, and that's a really good way to develop a relationship.
Yeah.
Because you're also it's tough to kind of just write somebody a message from the start. It can be a little bit odd if they don't know you.
Hmm.
But if you start building this online relationship where you're interacting within the platform and you're having conversations on their posts, they'll be a lot more open to responding to your message when you do write to them.
Right. So it's not about getting to what you need from them right away, but it's about first building a connection, and then going to the aspect where you think that what is the help that you can get from that particular person, or what is it that you can offer. It can be anything.
Exactly. And it needs to be this two-way that you're not just asking them for something, but what are you going to offer them in return?
Definitely. And if anyone is just getting started in their personal branding journey, not just related to their work, but if they're trying to build a personal brand for themselves in the data world, what is it that they should focus on? And what is the advice that you would give for the overall journey that they have to start?
Yeah, besides the typical building, experience, getting a solid education, this is key, of course. But outside of that, find some side projects that you can work on that can keep you busy. So this can be a startup, this can be Kaggle competitions, it can be podcasts and interviews like this, maybe
Yeah.
something that you run weekly or monthly. But find some kind of side gig that
Hmm.
keeps you busy, that's connected to your passion, and also connecting back to earlier that helps you stand out from the crowd. So everybody that comes to apply for this data science position, they might have, their 5 years of experience and their master's in data science. If
Yeah.
everybody has that same profile, then what? How do you decide who stands out? So find something that can make you stand out. And that's very easy today now with everything online. You have so many options with Kaggle, with GitHub, and then initiatives like yours that you
Hmm.
can just do something more fun with interviews and podcasts. But there's no excuse to not start something extra on the side.
Yeah, it's about not restricting yourself to your own shell, but breaking that shell, getting out of your comfort zone, and doing something not just within work but outside of your work to show people what you want to stand for. And that's really important. Very few people do that. It takes a lot of effort. I definitely agree to that. But it does pay off in the end, where you can stand out amongst the crowd and you can show people that not just you're not just about your work, but you have more to offer.
And if it's something that you really enjoy, then it will probably show your passion, like it'll shine through. So if somebody comes to you to speak to you about your initiative,
Hmm.
it'll probably, light up your face and your smile, and it'll show how passionate you are about the subject. Whereas with work, over time, you might get a little bit more dull with it. But when you have a side project, it's likely something that you're passionate about, and that will shine through to others. Set yourself goals.
Yeah.
So set yourself, by the end of this year, I want to have participated in, I don't know, 5 public speaking events and 2 panels. But set yourself very clear goals, like I do with the Book a Week challenge. My goal
Yeah.
is I have to read a book a week, and I make myself do it. So set yourself some very stretching goals, and stick to them, and make sure they align to what you ultimately want in the long term.
Yeah.
You have to keep your energy very high, not let yourself get down, but also you don't have to be 7 days a week, 24 hours on top of it. Give
Yeah.
yourself a break. You don't have to work all weekend, of course. Make
Definitely.
sure you take, Sundays off from even your side projects, and relax. So finding a good balance is very important, and finding things that will help you recharge.
Yeah, and setting goals, as you said, and then really getting them to execution while not burning yourself out. So it's definitely that you don't have to give yourself up for your goals, but you have to keep going. Consistency is really, really important.
Yes.
So thank you so much, Christina, for sharing all these thoughts with us. So I'm going to link all of your work in the description below so that people can go follow you. And I would encourage everyone to really go check out your work, because Christina posts some amazing content on LinkedIn. It's really inspiring to look at the progress that you make every day, and that inspires every one of us to keep going. So thank you so much.
No, thank you for inviting me on, and thanks to all of our listeners as well.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If you found value in it, please subscribe to my channel, comment below, and let us know what are your biggest takeaways from today's video. I will see you next Monday, but please subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Thank you for watching.